Hello, explorers, and welcome to episode 59. Today, we have another special guest who is well known on the con circuit. He is a musical genius with skills to rival Max Rebo himself. Who is it? Stay tuned. Hello, explorers, and welcome to episode 59. And joining me, as always, is a man whose charm rivals that of Lando and Han Solo and almost competes with Chewbacca for fur. It's my best bud, Jimmy.
Howdy.
How you doing, Jimmy? How's your week been?
Oh, well, that's a tough question to answer this week. I'm all right. So, um, as of recording this, you and I've talked. We've had to put down a family pet, and I'm gonna go on a rant for a second here. Sorry, but man, when you do something like that, and you sit back and you think about the last couple of weeks and people complaining and crying about Star Wars. Kiadi Mundi's birthday was changed. This is woke. This is that. This is the. Who cares? Right? Like you can see, there's actually stuff. Like I love Star Wars. I mean, I would say Star Wars defines
Yeah.
me, who I am. At school, 2,500 people, I'm the Star Wars guy. We do a podcast. Like I obviously love Star Wars, but man, unfortunately, things like that have to happen and put things in perspective. And it just is like, why are we fighting over something we love? It just makes
Yeah.
no sense to me. It made, having to do, with our dog, it made it was kind of like, geez, like there are things that really do matter. Not, I love Star Wars. I don't want anyone to take away from it. I just think everyone needs to take a step back, think
Yeah.
about what they're complaining about, think about the things that are important in their life. Your life wouldn't be any different, if Star Wars, I mean, it would be a little different, but it wouldn't be worse or better. I don't think if
No.
so. Just I'm fine. If I come across kind of grumpy, this is usually how like heartbreak works for me. I get mean and callous and grumpy. All my athletes will tell you I've got two emotions, mean and meaner. So that's how my week's been. How about you? Sorry.
Yeah, no, not too bad. I've just been resting on the settee as normal. Legs still in clip, can't bend it. So halfway through a Star Wars box, certain point of view, which has been actually really, really good. My wife's obviously brought me two more as well to complete the collection. So I'm no doubt that I'll get through those. I've got about an hour and a half left of an audio book, Darth Plagueis, which is amazing. Absolutely
Yeah.
love that
So,
book.
yeah.
Highly rate that. And it's been a busy week on the socials, Jimmy. We have had a lot of new members. Even now, I've still had 2 or 3 people join today. It has been absolutely crazy. So, without any delay, Jimmy's about to take a big deep breath. Off you go, Jimmy. Time to shine.
All right. So the long list. Here we go. Cavan Scott, you may have heard of him. D. McKinley, 28. Noisy Morning. Sid the Kid, 24. Jordan is Dead. Kurt JW. Xana Muriel. Rebecca Pieces of Voodoo. Okay. Distant Echoes, Star Wars. Cheeky Goth, 66. Paul Bolin. Death Star Cisco. Mother Maker. Board Game Cantina. I. Keller Walton. Andrew Lawden. Brian Dickey. Lane 032, Dickey underscore E, Carl Simpson, Shamatter 100, Jason M. Wild, Smiley Miley 83, Cesar Carr, Lucky Savers, Peyton Coleman, Sam Taylor, Melody Generetes, Tom Ellis Garfolio, Jamie H. Lee, Andrew Barber, Travis McBride, CT42069, Heath Faith, Erfred Salas, Samuel Castaneda, Riezel, Job JO3B1, Z Adam Green, Trevor Jones, Shane Nita, Michael Ingalls, John Mr. Williams, Joe Ty, Tommy Real, Ryan McCath, Jordan Everett, Nicholas Wall, Mark Clarkson, Brian James Dickey, James Hatfield, Robert Pearson, Steve Bridgman, Cameron Ross, Mark Olis, Kerry McFarland Simpson, Brandon Nichols, Callum Barnes, Marceau Ritten, Michael Frizzell, Susan Alexander, Hedroy Seek, and Gilbert Longoria.
Wow. Excellent, John. While Jimmy takes a breath, then probably has a drink of water. Massive thank you to everyone that has joined this past week. I don't know what we've done to get this many followers this week. I really don't. But all the same, thank you so much for joining us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, and YouTube. Please don't forget to get on the other socials if you're on one of them, especially YouTube. Subscribe. It really does help us out. We super appreciate the love and support that we're getting at the minute. The community is growing massively. It is a safe place to talk about the Acolyte, whether you like it or not. I think we had a thread on there on Facebook where someone didn't like it. We had about 30 comments about people talking their own points of view from it. The guy didn't change his point of view, still didn't like it. However, there was no beef. It was all positive and negative. Yeah, it's all constructive criticism. Really good to see. And yeah, just keep sharing the love. Explore the Force. All one word. Okay, so this week then, let's head into this week's Force Encounters.
All right, so I put together the 25th anniversary, Lego anniversary Millennium Falcon, that little one. That's pretty awesome. I think I did something wrong though, so I'm going to have to pull it apart. One of the top pieces isn't fitting properly, so I did that. I'm about halfway. Well, I'm over halfway through Temptation of the Force by Tessa Gratton, and that book has been non-stop action. I think someone said that there's only one more adult novel coming out for phase 3. I'm like, how are they going to? I mean, I don't know. A lot could happen in the last 20 chapters or so of this book, which I'm assuming will. But to wrap all that up is going to be insane. But good Star Wars week. We've been fine. Like I said, we have lots of conversations online with a lot of positive people and people who haven't liked the Acolyte, but have been able to be like, well, this is why I don't like it. And you're like, fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't agree, but hey, to each their own. So it's been a good week as opposed to the last 2 weeks with the Acolyte. I think this has been a good one. I'm really hoping that this episode 5 crushes it and a good fight scene or something brings everybody together. Everyone loves lightsabers.
Yeah.
But it's been a good week as far as Force encounters. And also I'm getting ready to go down to Rebel ScumCon in Dallas where I'll get to meet Nilda and I'll get to meet Tiara or Crafting on Ilum in person. Hopefully we'll have a beverage and that'll be a good time. We have to meet lots of Star Wars people. So I'm good Force encounters this week, which is positive. How about you, Jack?
Nice. Yeah, I already mentioned it is obviously my books. However, we did have a unusual sense in the Force. The Force has been awoken in the Copesake household. So this week we were talking about Echo Base, which I'll get more information for those that are listening that are interested. It's an event in the UK. Essentially, I've managed to talk my wife into coming with me to the Star Wars event, where it's a free course. In fact, I'll tell you, this is how I span it. I'm going to take you out for a free course dinner with entertainment, music at a nice, luxurious hotel. At the end of it, there's also Star Wars. So, yeah, me and my wife are going to Echo Base live, a dinner event with the stars. They have roughly, I think last time about 10 stars, I think it was. They all sit with you on the table. You have a good Star Wars chat, pictures. I think they do raffles as well for stuff. It's just a general, chit chat sort of thing. And then the next day is like a toy convention, collectibles convention, just down the road. Again, all part of the same event. Again, I've got an early bird ticket. Go there, have a look at some collectibles, see how much money I can lose at that. But yeah,
you still have a birthday Lego coming to you, so maybe you can, with inflation and interest over the last couple of weeks, you should be able to get something pretty nice.
yeah, we'll see about that. Awesome. That wraps up then this week's Force Encounters. Okay, so this week's news then, let's head over to Batu and see what's coming out of there. Okay, so this week the Free Guy director has revealed that he's still developing a Star Wars movie for Lucasfilm. He shared that the development on the project has been slow going. This really is no surprise that it's slow going. I don't even think Daisy Ridley's seen the script or knows what's going on for her film. So any other directors this moment in time that are looking at stuff and making stuff, I think a lot of it is going to be quite slow going. What do you reckon about that, Jimmy?
Yeah, I can see Free Guy was a pretty fun movie. Good
Yeah,
action, good story. I wouldn't mind seeing Sean Levy or Levy, I'm not sure how they pronounce it, make a movie. I know that something just popped up with Charmin Obaid Chinoy just had an interview on somewhere. I was just watching something before we hopped on, and she was talking about how she had just gotten done talking with like George and JJ, and like she, I mean, it sounds like she's talking to people who are making things, and of course she said some things that are upsetting people. But yeah, I
yeah,
think that like you said, everything's going to be slow going. I think that they're gonna, they have a plan as far as Grogu and the Mando, and then it sounds
yeah,
like the Ray movie would be next, but who knows? I'm down. I just want to see Star Wars on the big screen again.
yeah, yeah. Same.
So, but yeah. Um, So, Leslie Headland on queerness in the Acolyte, the Witch Coven, and more. About this statement, Headland commented, I was surprised by the question. Amanda and I just burst out laughing because that's our knee jerk reaction to being asked that. But to be honest, I don't know what the term gay means in that sense. I don't believe that I created queer with a capital Q content. Oh, this is when an interview and the guy's like, is this
Yeah,
the queer Star Wars? And it was kind of out of left field. And I think he overreached a little bit, maybe
yeah. I think so.
as like Leslie Headland is gay. I think he felt empowered to ask this, but yeah, we'll see here. She went on further to elaborate the unique narrative setting of witches in the show. They're a matriarchal society. As a gay woman, I knew it would read that their sexuality is queer, but there's also aren't any men in their community. So a closeness between the two of them would be natural. It seemed plot driven. I would say it's really reductive to call them lesbians. I think it means you're not really paying attention to the story. That's what that's the same thing I said. Like, I guess I never thought about it in the fact that like every time there's a coven of witches and it's just
Yeah,
witches, you know, right? Um, but now things are a bigger deal than they used to be. In an interview with the Hollywood Reporter magazine, the Acolyte showrunner Leslie Headland discussed how she's proud to inspire LGBTQ fans, but says the story is being read unintended ways. Imagine the fandom of Star Wars, the fandom menace, if you will, taking something out of context.
unreal.
I don't believe it. They would never do that. They would never say they would never show an interview from was it 2014 or something like that of Amandla Sandberg in a movie that was trying to bring empathy to white people for the
Yeah,
voice for blacks, and then try to turn that around and make it for Star Wars. Like that in itself is pathetic. Um, and this just goes to show you, like I know people are down on Headland for the things that she's supposedly may or may not know about people she's worked for in the past.
yeah,
Like she could have been like, "Yeah, I'm gay. I made them gay," but she's not. She's like that felt like that's a solid answer. They're a matriarchal society, and there's no men, so of course they're going to be close. Like,
yeah,
dude, we're when you're in the military, right? I don't know what it's like in the UK, but in the US, women were not allowed in the infantry. Didn't make us all, we work tight.
yeah,
You're close with those guys. I mean, your life's in each other's hands. Like for not to be close, just so yeah.
yeah,
What do you think about this? I think that was an awesome answer. And she
yeah,
continues, you listen to her and you put aside your own agenda. She usually has the right answers for things, and she's not
yeah,
throwing her gayness in your face. You
yeah.
know,
When I seen it, I think there was a bit of an awkward laugh by them both, but I think she handled it pretty well. And like she says, that the story's being read in unintended ways because people are picking out these things and not concentrating on what the story's about.
yeah, it's bonkers. Like even so, there's a coven of gay witches.
Yeah,
How does that change the story?
yeah, exactly. It doesn't. It doesn't.
So
But
what if
yeah,
it's a mixed society of men and women? Does that change the story? Like,
makes no difference.
yeah, I just yeah, Oof.
Makes no difference.
Makes no
But
difference.
in other news, and this is quite exciting news, I think, for me
Yes, it
especially,
is. This is awesome.
Bryce Dallas Howard has spoken some more
Yes.
about what it's like to direct one of the episodes of Skeleton Crew and has admitted that she'd love to do a film. Me and Jimmy would love that. She
Oh,
had an
please.
interview with Collider where she was asked about her experience on the Skeleton Crew set. The actor director revealed that Jon Favreau was involved on the set to a surprising degree, which might be a big indicator at just how integrated this story is with the Mandoverse. She did go on saying, yeah, no, it's very, very, very exciting because of the kind of infrastructure that John and Dave have built. It's allowing for this kind of broadening, and truly, John Favreau in particular, because he has had a relationship with John Watts through through Spider-Man universe, because John Watts directed all the Tom Holland Spider-Mans.
I know that.
She also goes on saying he kind of knew how great John was and really entrusted him with this, but it was wonderful because John was there every single day. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect for John Favreau to be there every day, not on his own set technically. So again, a lot of people getting involved, sort of guiding, I'd say is probably the right way, or just helping Bryce Dallas Howard along. I think Bryce Dallas Howard would be a perfect fit to direct a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, she's taken. I mean, I know she did that one with the village in episode 1, where the AT-ST is like the big dinosaur, so it kind of gives like she's right in her wheelhouse with big giant scary monsters. And then I think she did the one in season 2 where they're out in that boat. And we're going to introduce Bo-Katan and the rest of those crew. And then she had, I don't know which episode she did in Boba Fett, but I'm sure it's probably one of the better ones. And I'm not a huge fan of that series. I do kind of want to go back and rewatch it, though.
It's better binged.
Some people on our Facebook have said that it's better being binged, which I would believe. But
I think so.
And the thing about it too is, like, if she's stuck in the spot, not saying she would be because she seems pretty creative. I mean, the people that she's worked with, if she was just in that movie Argyle, you know who her dad is. I mean, she's been around some of the greats, and I mean, I think she's, from the sounds of things, she's absorbed and she's not afraid to learn, and she's been doing it since she's a very young kid. I think she would knock it out of the park. Now, we did say the same thing for Deborah Chow when it came to Kenobi. Now, I think there were some things, maybe she saved Kenobi, and maybe it would have been worse otherwise. But I do think she would knock this out of the park. I'm excited for it. The fact that Jon Favreau was there a bunch makes me feel like this is important. They know they got to get this right to drive the Mandoverse, if you will, forward, and that's exciting. So that they care that much to be there, not just giving notes.
I say it?
You need to say it, Jack. You need to say how excited you are for the skeleton.
I say it. Might be a little bit more excited. Might be a little bit more.
Jack's
excited.
#1 film, folks. This has been his. This has been it for him. This is make or break Star Wars for Jack, the Skeleton Crew. So
we'll see. Yeah. Awesome. That wraps up then this week's news. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, joining us today is another talented guest that rivals the skills and drills of Max Rebo himself, and also Friggering Dan and the Modal Nods, who play at the Cantina on Moss Eisley. Ladies and gentlemen, Level Up Leroy.
Wow, with an intro like that. Oh my gosh, thank you.
It's my speciality. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us, buddy. Great to see you again.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yes,
not a problem. How's your week been?
It's been good. Yeah, it's been a nice sort of quiet one for me, actually, sort of recovering from a few of the cons that I've been doing, which was nice. I did a quote-unquote normal gig last night in a club. Was, a rarity for me these days. It's mostly conventions and things like that. And then obviously, anyone that's watching, we have literally just hit summertime here in the UK. So as you can see from my forehead, I've made the most of getting myself blasted by the sun.
Yeah, awesome. Like Leroy's already mentioned, obviously he does a few cons and stuff like that. We got we managed to meet at Galaxy Stage at Star Wars Celebration. Obviously, I know who you are. Jimmy knows who you are. Leroy, for the fans and the people that are listening out there, just let the people know who you are and how you're involved in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, well, I suppose I'm the self-proclaimed pop culture, premier pop culture video DJ and host. So I basically got into doing Comic Cons and various events like that. As kind of being that after party guy, I had this kind of video show that I put together and was DJing at after parties. And then it sort of naturally evolved to, hey, can you come in the day and play some music in the daytime? And then it's evolved to, hey, can you talk on a mic? And in some occasions, hey, can you now interview someone, as we haven't got a moderator? So it's been evolving, but through all of those various conventions, I was lucky enough to be picked up with the guys at Show Before the Show, and got taken out to do Chicago Star Wars Celebration, which was awesome. Got to play there, and then on to there we did Star Wars Europe, and who knows where next.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's how I kind of became involved with it, and hosting on the stage, and so working with Aussie Dave on the Galaxy stage, just having a massive party with fellow Star Wars people, everyone just enjoying it. I mean, celebration is the exact right terminology for that event. You know, I don't know any other convention in pop culture media that's called a celebration. So and it's 100% correct. It's such a good vibe, and everyone's so uplifted with all of the news and things like that that's coming out, and the amazing, obviously you've got all of the amazing cosplayers and all of the amazing activities that are going on and builds. It's just a celebration. It's incredible. So yeah.
Nice.
Very cool. All right, so Leroy, what would you say is like your favorite movie, character? Like, what pulled you into Star Wars at first?
So Revenge of the Jedi, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Jedi. I've been watching the documentaries and stuff. Return of the Jedi was all I can remember is it being on in the living room around Christmas time and being on the television as a kid. So that was, and that always seemed to be played on, certainly in UK televisions. I don't know if you remember as well, Jack, but always just seemed to be Return of the Jedi on the telly. So I'd always just sit there and watch it, and was just like, oh, that. And of course that was kind of my remit. I'm just a big nerd, big geek of all, like from He-Man to Thundercats to Batman, Superman, Marvel comic, everything like that. So I really sort of encompass all of that stuff. Star Wars just switched me on straight away, obviously seeing it. So I kind of my first introduction would have been Return of the Jedi. Favorite film, Empire, everyone's. And so there's two characters that I gravitate to in the Star Wars universe. One is just Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's just Don. And any time they've used him in any of the movies and even in the series, he's just so awesome. Just such a cool character, that guidance character, and just encompasses the Force. And even when we see him as a lost man in Obi-Wan, he's got he's there. You can tell he's there, and when he comes to it at the end, it's just awesome. And then the other one is Lando, because I just want to be Lando's personal DJ. I want to be in his entourage. I want to fly around the universe and hang out with Lando and be like, right, where are we at now? Right, we're going to drop some beats. And like, you just know there's going to be a party if you're hanging out with Lando.
Absolutely. That's a good one.
I like that. I like that a lot. Obviously, you mentioned your favorite movie. What about TV show? Is that Obi-Wan as well? Or is it anything different?
TV show. Do you know what? Yeah, I really enjoyed Obi-Wan. I did. I know that sort of had some sort of split some of the audience at certain times, and we know Star Wars TV shows can be quite polarizing for people at the moment, especially. But I must say, like Mandalorian season 1, I've sort of gone back and started rewatching that, because sort of pulled in. We've had quite a good bit of Star Wars lately. What with Ahsoka was great and stuff, and I see various reviews online, but I was like, I'm going to go back and watch Mando, because I remember just that first season sitting down watching it and just being like, everything about this is great, and it is. The first 3 episodes that I've got back through and rewatching, they're just phenomenal. So Mando and Obi-Wan TV wise for me they're both up there. for sure.
Very cool.
Nice.
How far would you say your fandom goes? I mean, are you like diving into the books and the comics, or are you just movies and TV shows? I mean, because you mentioned Marvel and things like that when you were younger, and
Yeah. I've been collecting the comic up until very recently, probably the last, I think, probably 6 months or so. I stopped getting the comics. I just don't have time to read them anymore, and I pick up on books mostly with the audiobooks, to be fair.
Yeah.
Just like sitting down and having the time to read through what we call a floppy with a comic book or a book. I just don't feel I've got that time at the moment, because if I'm sat down, I've got spare time, I'm kind of jumping on and doing a remix or doing some editing or some video work, because I'm lucky enough, I'm one of those people where my job is something that I love, and it's also can kind of be like that hobby for me as well. So I can sit down and like I have an idea in my head for a remix that I want to do, and that I'll sit down, and that's my kind of my chill time really. But you know, I do enjoy collecting some of the Black Series stuff, getting into the figure. One of my part-time jobs, so I said 2 jobs. One is pop culture DJ, the other is I work in a toy shop where we sell collectible figures. So we're dealing with the Black Series, the vintage collection, Marvel Legends, the NECA toys, all of those kind of things, and we send them out all over the world. So I get to sit down with Hasbro and have a chat with them every now and again and find out what's going on. So it's pretty cool. There's some pretty cool stuff coming up, and I'm like, yeah, nice.
Oh man, my next question should be what's coming up. Let me know, but I know we can't.
The next question, the answer is we've signed NDAs.
I'm going to jump on a little bit though. What's your most treasured Star Wars collectible that you've got then, Leroy? I know you obviously, like you say, you've got a part-time job there, so you've got to have a fair few, maybe.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Gosh, probably my trooper helmet over there, my TK lid.
Yeah,
I love that. I've had. I mean, at one point I had 4 of them, and the full suit and everything, and the armor, and I had Kylo Ren armor for a while, but I couldn't part with the TK helmet. So I'd probably say
classic.
that's been with me through thick and thin.
Okay,
very cool. Very cool. I want to go back on something you just said. You talk about being inspired to do. When you have free time, you want to work on music and things like that. Has there been one thing in Star Wars that you've watched something or you've seen something you're like, I've got to make music for this. I've got to just completely inspired you to just dive into some music or videos, or is there been one, I don't know, something you saw in a movie or whatever?
Yeah, I mean that's nearly every movie and every film I ever watched. And I wish it wasn't at times. So when you were saying that question, I was like, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying here. Because my brain, I watch a thing, and there's a remix that I want to do right now, and I really want to bless it out. I can't because I've got to do it, but it's Star Wars related, and I'm just like, oh my God, I need to get this out now. It's stuck in my head, and I know that the first free day I've got is on Tuesday, and that is what I've got to do. I've downloaded all the parts. I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to do that remix. So as soon as it's there, it's kind of like boom, it's in my mind. But as soon as I'm sort of watching Guardians of the Galaxy, The Chain, I was just like,
yeah.
Oh my God, right. Yeah. I need to do this needs to be a drum and bass mix. And that's me. I'm sat in the cinema just going, oh, I need to get this mix out of my head. Right. So, then I'm getting home and I'm downloading sort of, samples and parts and getting the tracks and then trying to put that together. So it tends to be my whole life seems to be that. We did an event, Bunter Eve in the UK. So gladly there with your t-shirt, Jimmy. So the guys at the virtual canteen put on this event, and Details was there. So great character actor, he's been in loads of the Star Wars things, but he was also in Emanate, back in the day, this boy band from the UK, and They did that, I've got a little something for you. And as soon as Spencer, the guy running the event, was like, Details is going to be there for a minute, I was like, I've got it. And then I was like, dun, 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 dun. So he's got his own Imperial March remix with his song. I was like, I've got to do that. And my little ADHD brain would not stop until I spewed that out and done that. So yeah, all the time is the answer, Jimmy.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that, man. That's awesome.
I'd love to see what you do with Anakin marching with the clones onto the Jedi Temple.
Oh, writes that down.
Yeah. Have to say that again. I can imagine your brain going for it.
I did do with Anakin. I did a Sandstorm remix, so the classic Darude Sandstorm with a remix of it and stuff, and just used with the video part. Used loads of videos of all of the sand that we see in Star Wars.
This is why at Celebration I fell in love literally with you, because I was like, I need to go back in there. That music's incredible.
Yeah, well, it's that point of that breakdown in Sandstorm where is Anakin just going, I don't like sand. It's hard. It's coarse. You know, and it's in the middle, and people are like, oh yeah, Sandstorm. Yeah, makes sense. So that's my brain just.
I think I went into about 3 or 4 different panels, luckily, in the Galaxy stage, and every time, from the first moment I went in there, I started talking to you, and every time then I left, I was coming up to you again. Great set, mate. Great set, mate. Yeah, it was absolutely awesome. How did you manage to get into the music with Star Wars then? What was it? What was your break, so to speak?
It's definitely working with the getting into. So I'm not kind of officially tied in with Star Wars music, as it were. But the official break into working at the celebrations was through the company, the show before the show. So Elliot has DJs that work at Disney and things like that, for Pop, and we've both worked with them. And I worked with Elliot at New York Comic Con, and then it's kind of gone on from there. It's always proving yourself, always playing the last gig that, the last gig you did, play it like it's your last gig, really go for it 110%, because as you can probably imagine, there's a million people that want your space where you're working, and to always making sure that you're proving ground, working your hardest. And I've always been to the events with them guys, and yeah, it's just gone on from there. So keep getting asked back. So
good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about, so like, what is it like to DJ at Star Wars Celebration? I mean, because like people don't know that haven't been to Celebration. Like we come in, we can be in that stage for 45 minutes, if not longer, sometimes before anything's actually happening. So it's up to you to keep us all from going crazy, and So what is that experience like? What is something you've learned from like your first one to your last one, London or whatever?
Yeah, there isn't so many shows that are like a celebration, as we were saying. The energy in those rooms is incredible, because Star Wars fans, we know that pretty much nearly every panel that's coming is going to drop some big news, and I've done a lot of Comic Cons now, and I've done a lot of hosting in between panels and things like that, and there's always good energy, and we're playing music and keeping people upbeat, and we always sort of check where we earn our sort of stripes, as it were, and is when things aren't going right. So, there's a celebrity that isn't ready to come on stage because they've been caught up in signings, or they've been taken to the wrong room and things like that, and it's buying for time and keeping everybody in that room engaged. And when you've got Star Wars fans who are super passionate and ready to go, and you go over time, and it's like, well, come on, where's this? And it's just we're playing games, we're talking to people, we're playing music, we're trying to get people singing, keeping that energy going, and so when you're in that room and you come and you sit down, number one, it's not boring, because the first thing you do is sit down. I don't know if you've been to some conventions where they don't have this thing in between. It's like you sat there and you're like, okay, we're just waiting for the panel to start. And then, it can take a while, and if things go wrong, there's delays. Whereas when we're there and we're performing and and keeping the energy up, and people are singing or they're holding their phones up with lighters, you know, in the air, and you've got that energy going.
Yeah.
It, you know, it makes for such a nicer environment for people. And like I said, you were one of, I don't think I've ever been to a convention where you get so many people come up and go, thank you for that. That was amazing. We really love the music. Thanks for keeping us entertained in between the panels. You know, we like do this event, you literally come away from there feeling like a rock star. It's amazing. It's Star Wars fans. You don't tend to get that at other conventions. People kind of sort of like find out who you are at times. Like, oh yeah, how you doing, Leroy? It's great. But Star Wars celebrations, I mean, and we're trading patches all the time, stickers, but everybody is really appreciative of what you do. And I just love it. It's so much fun.
Which celebration did you like the most? Obviously, you said you've been to Chicago as well. Is it just Chicago and London that you've done?
Yeah, so I did Chicago and London. There was an Anaheim one in the middle. But the team I work with, we were split, sort of on split duties, and I had an MCM in London to do. So being Reed Pop, it's kind of the same company, obviously keep me in London and move so those guys. So I've done two. I've done Chicago and Europe, London. I mean, going to Chicago is absolutely amazing. It's an amazing experience, but there is kind of nothing like being on your home turf. You know, so that was great to be on my home turf. We did one of the after parties in the O2 in Cantina. So
I was there for that. It was insane.
Do you know what I mean? That's like to turn around to people now and say, yeah, I've played in the O2 is just mind blowing, and it's all been part of Star Wars and all of that great stuff. So although I have played in the Science Museum of Chicago, so that's pretty cool. We had a night in there which was amazing. But yeah, it was a Canto Bright themed evening and stuff like that. So much fun. But yeah, DJing on my home turf. But that's not to say, if anyone from Star Wars Celebrations listening, that I wouldn't like to go overseas again.
Did you get snowed in at Chicago? Because we left the last day. Was it Monday? I think it was, or Sunday. When it started snowing, like, I mean, it was kind of nice weather the first 3 days, and then all of a sudden, I mean, it's Chicago, and you got all of the water coming off the Great Lakes, and then it just boom, it dumped on us, and there was like a foot of snow. Did you get stuck in Chicago for a little bit?
I didn't get stuck in Chicago, but yeah, exactly what you're saying, Jimmy. That weather was. There was one day I was out in shorts. Another day I just had like a sort of light jacket and jeans on. I was like, oh, nippy. And then there was another day where, my friend Elliot picked me up from Columbia. You know, they had the Empire. It was around that time they did the Empire Strikes Back crew jacket, the blue box with the orange. Yeah. So he literally brought that over for me, and I was like, yes, it's snowing out there. Here we go. So I had that to wear. So I was kind of chuffed. But yeah, like the weather was just, it was everything. It was insane.
Yeah.
But apparently that's normal for Chicago. Like,
that's normal for the States. You get all of it in 3 days. It could be like 0 degrees one day and 100 degrees the next, and no wind and 100 miles per hour with tornadoes. Like, yeah, Chicago's in that time period too, because all that weather coming off the Great Lakes and stuff can make it kind of bonkers. But that, I mean, it went from being nice to just absolutely dumping that snow on us. It was crazy. We had a hard time. Yeah, we drove and we had a hard time getting out of the city. So yeah, but I'm glad you had a good experience there. I thought that's been I would have to say my favorite because it was my first. Obviously, I loved London because I got to meet Jack and a bunch of other friends and stuff like that. But Chicago is real special. I thought was a lot of fun. So
it was a really you know, like picking between the two was like a really hard question. But yeah, I had a great time in Chicago, and I got to go and have some deep dish pizza as well. Like,
that's so good, right?
Oh, just the best. But it takes like 40 minutes to cook. You have to really wait a long time for it to arrive. So it's like, oh, I'm really hungry. But then, like, you get this massive pizza. You have like 2 slices. And you're like, I am full. but you eat it. Well, obviously you eat it all, but
So do you get to like when you're doing all this stuff, and as it sounds like you're moving up, kind of like people getting to know you, and I'm sure like the actors and things like that. Do you get to interact with a lot of like the stars or the authors and things like that as well? Like, you get to meet anyone like someone who just like starstruck you maybe?
all of the time. I mean, yeah, certainly at Star Wars celebrations, as you can imagine, there's so much talent around, and of course any of the other conventions as well. Like literally, I have met we've met Ryan Reynolds and Jack Black and people like that, and it's creative, Patrick Stewart, all of these like phenomenal people that you get to meet. But when you're backstage, there has to be an element of professionalism. So there's no selfie taking with these people. There's no sort of stopping them and asking them for autographs and things like that, because actually that's for them backstage is a safe place. They can chill. They can just drop the shoulders for 5 minutes. When you're out on that sort of shop floor, as it were, working with people and having to constantly be on, they can come back, they can stop and just relax for 5 minutes. And again, the last thing they want is someone who's working there going, "Hey, come on, selfie,"
So last 5 minutes.
I'd be tired immediately.
If they offer and say, "Hey, do you want a picture?" Or you're like, absolutely. Jason Momoa recently I took a selfie with on stage. We did that for the convention that I was at. But you get to meet these people. When Drew Barrymore and Jamie Lee Curtis have just told you've done an excellent job, it's like, can you say that into this? They just have to be memories that are here, and it's incredible. But they're all professionals. I have to be a professional, and we're all kind of working on those stages together. So, but they're all fantastic people. Nice. But yeah, I've got some friends in the Star Wars universe now as well, and you talked like there's people like Nick Brockenshire, who's one of the artists. There's a lot of covers and things for the comics, and he's in the Fantastic Blues Harvest band, and get to hang out with these people, and you start seeing the same people around and making friends, which is awesome, which is what I love. I love the fact that I've got friends all over the world now is like mind blowing to me. It's amazing.
Yeah. Nice. You just smashed like 2 or 3 questions in one. I was going to ask you.
Sorry.
Do you still talk to any of them? Clearly, yes. And what's your favorite part about doing it all? Meeting people.
It's something I do. I talk.
Obviously, we spoke about all the good stuff and everything like that. But what would you say is the most difficult bit, whether it's like labor intensive or physically, mentally challenging? What's the most difficult thing, do you reckon?
You've got to be worn out by the 4th day, because I know as a fan, I'm exhausted. So you've got to be, because you're doing the show, you're doing stuff after the shows. I mean, you've got to be like vacation ready by the time 4 days are over.
Yeah, absolutely. And during that last celebration, I got tonsillitis as well.
Yeah, you couldn't speak on the last day, could you?
I lost my voice, so I was supposed to be on StarWars.com on the live feed and do some chatting and things like that, and couldn't speak. Literally on the last day, I lost the voice. They were like, "Well, you don't sound healthy enough to be on online," and it's like, fair enough. So it's probably the same as you guys. Like, it's exhausting, but don't we just love being there and love doing it? And isn't there like this weird adrenaline that just keeps you going? I mean, I can't find the energy to tidy up my room, but I can find the energy to do 4 days and 4 nights at a Star Wars celebration with tonsillitis.
No, but
go to work and be like, oh.
My son James was 13 when we was at London celebration, obviously, and for a 13-year-old to wake me up at like 5 a.m. going, "We need to go. We need to get there now." It's like for 4 days as well. I'll never forget. We were driving home. I was watching them. I was like, "You tired, mate?" It's like, "No." I literally drove around the corner, looked at him, and he was clean out.
Yeah.
But for 4 days, he'd kept up with me, hustle and bustle, and obviously we did all the the late night stuff as well. But yeah,
because we love it. We're getting this experience that this, we love Star Wars, right? So, and then you get a convention. Like, just think about general Comic Con. Most Comic Cons, other than like New York's, etc. But most Comic Cons, for the best part, 2 days.
Yeah.
And they go, okay, we know you love Star Wars. Here's 4 days of it. Just boom. And 4 days of walking around those halls. You would think you'd be able to do it in like an afternoon, just quickly walk around and go, well, I've seen everything. You can't take it all in. And there's just this energy that keeps you going. That said, for 2 days afterwards, I am. But yeah, the energy, and it's, it's that love of what we do, man.
Very cool.
Good.
What would you say, like, if someone was wanting to get into it? Like, I've kind of wanted to get into the local scene here, Wichita, Kansas, and like down in Dallas and stuff. I kind of want to start hosting these things, or like being like, getting on the stage with the actors and things like that. And even with the music side of stuff, like, I have no music talent, so I wouldn't ever want to do that. But for people who do have that, what would you be your advice on how to like get started, or like get your foot in the door, that kind of thing for the, some of our younger listeners and things like that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was just keep turning up, and knocking on the door and getting involved with other events. I do believe sometimes it's not always what it's who you know. And I was really lucky. My first break, when I had the idea for doing this, I mean, the backstory for me is I was DJing, quote unquote, normal DJing in clubs and bars, and had this idea that I wanted to do this pop culture thing. And a lot of people were like, I don't think it's a thing, mate. Is there that many people out there? And I was like, I don't know, but I want to do it, and I sort of listened to people saying you couldn't do it, for the longest time. And then I got Bell's palsy, which paralyzed half my face for about 3 months. I couldn't move half my face, so to take my eye down to sleep and things like that. And after that, I was like, I'm going to do what I want to do. Life is too short, to not be taking those chances and risks. And ultimately, what am I going to miss out? I'm going to miss out on one night of DJing at a normal gig. Like, just see what happens. So I made lots of phone calls and spoke to lots of people, and was kind of lucky enough that the first event that I did, the Sci-Fi Weekender, which was
nice
in Wales. So I live in Norfolk in the UK. So literally driving from one side of the UK to the other. It just so happened that I'd worked with one of the organisers about 4 years prior at one of the Club 18 to 30s. Jack, you'll have heard all about them. The reunions in Skegness. So it was like this rave in a tent, basically. And I phoned up and said, "Oh, I'm Leroy. I've got this idea." And he's like, "Oh, Leroy, yeah. Club 18 to 30s." I was like, "Yeah, Matt. Oh my God, yeah." It's like, "Come on down. The event's in 2 months. We've budget is spent, but you can have a caravan and some beers. Boom. Up for a couple of nights." So it was like brilliant, and I went and did that. And so I've, in the past, I've done gigs where I've not been paid, but I've always been good about picking. And this is the advice that I would give to anyone is, there are so many people that will say, "Oh, you can do it for the exposure," and like, my bills don't get paid with exposure, unfortunately. But if you can pick the right events and get in with the right people, that's the key. So sometimes there's proving ground and getting into events, and then once you're in, then you've got that opportunity to do it. So definitely reach out, definitely make those connections, be true to what you want to do as well. A few people have asked me about it and said, "Oh, I'd like to do what you do." And like, "Oh, so what are you into?" And they're like, "Well, I like the Marvel movies, quite good in it." And you think, well, are you into this? It's, we can pull out a fraud, or a fake stuff.
Yeah.
So, you've got to be passionate about what you're doing. That's for sure as well. So be passionate about it, make connections, do the right gigs, and know your worth. Absolutely know your worth, I'd say.
Nice. I'm probably going to ask you the most difficult question here, Leroy, but what's been the highlight? What's your main number one highlight so far?
Oh, I mean, this podcast, right? Explore the Force.
There you go. You've made it,
question.
Leroy.
Next question. End it there. That'll do.
It's really tricky for me. I always wanted to go and play at New York Comic Con.
Yeah.
It's the birthplace. I'm a comic book guy. That was where I started. I wanted to go there, and then I got that opportunity to play there. And then I thought I was done. And then the next thing is like, oh, I'd really love to play at a Star Wars Celebration. And then you go to Chicago and you play, and it's like, oh, wow. And, and then it's, I really like to do this event. And then suddenly you've got a call from like League of Legends. They want you to do their Christmas event. You're like, okay. And then work for Sega. And so I keep getting these kind of, oh, I'd love to do that gig. And they're coming in. And again, these are all through contacts that I've made or people that have seen me playing and then approached me. And I am so lucky that it's constantly evolving and constantly rolling forward. I mean, if anyone told me that I'd be lucky enough to play at Disney World in Florida for New Year's Eve, 2 years on the bounce for New Year's Eve, I would have said, no, not in a million years. Or you're going to get the opportunity to DJ at the Brooklyn Brewery. Not in a million years would I have known that would have happened. So I've been super lucky that I've had some really, for what would have been for me, absolutely aspirational gigs. It'd be lovely if the opportunity comes to go to Japan. That's always been on my hit list to visit there as a country. If I can visit Japan with Star Wars, then that would be, like that's my next sort of gig that I would love to do. And if I get to do it, right on.
Get this man there, Lucasfilm, whoever it is that's doing it.
It'd be lovely. It'd be lovely to go again.
I think though that you keep getting to do all these things because of what you just said in that last question is that your passion is there, man. Like you can feel it. Yeah. Jack was drawing you. He's like, we got to get this guy on the show. He's awesome. Just his, I didn't realize you had been at Chicago and stuff like that. And so you start thinking about like, oh yeah, I love we're excited for the show and everything like that, but you keep us rolling and that's awesome. And I think, that's just a testament to you that they keep pouring these things on you. I think that, obviously like the advice you just gave is working. So, if we got any young listeners out there, you guys need to listen up and listen to what Leroy has to say. But is there anything that, you said you want to go to Japan? We are going to go to Japan. So we really want to see you there. You put out any feelers yet? Like, is there anything you can tell us, can't tell us?
All I can say is that I'm reaching out to the Force, and I'm one with the Force. The Force with me. It would be lovely to go to Japan, and talks are out there, and fingers crossed.
I can't big you up any more than I'm doing. I'm not just saying it because you're on the show.
Thank
you're
you.
a friend as well, but I said it and I'll always keep saying it. When I was in London at that Galaxy stage, yes, it wasn't the biggest stage, but I'm telling you now, the energy from the music and the atmosphere in there was unbelievable.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's me, and there's that Aussie Dave on that stage as well, and as a team. As a team, we work. I mean, people that like you wouldn't think we like each other the way we talk to each other on stage with the banter, but I do love that man, and we just the banter and the energy that we both have is it's like a chaotic, marvelous energy that just works with Star Wars and the fans. So yeah, we we definitely had, the feedback from that stage was, this is just the aptly named the
I
part.
put it in the survey because you get a survey, don't you? They get sent it out.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, no, thank you very much. I think one final question before we wrap it up.
Remember, this is a safe space. This is a safe space.
Controversial question. What's your thoughts on the Acolyte?
Struggling to hear you guys. You're not coming through particularly well.
I'm a big fan of it. I'm a massive fan of it.
I think there's some issues, but it's fine. I don't think it's as bad as some of the space trolls out there are trying to make it. But we've actually built up our community over the last 2 or 3 weeks because of the Acolyte. People, like you said, Star Wars fans are passionate, and sometimes they can't control that passion. And we've actually kind of built things up recently, at least on Facebook and things like that, because we have been trying to be a safe space. We're like, if you don't like it, don't like it. If you have legitimate reasons, and if you love it, love it. Like, and we've been talking to a lot of people online and things like that about, because like Jack loves it. He's been on it since London. Jack's, that's all he wants to talk about is Acolyte.
I mean, that trailer when we saw it in London, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Galaxy Stage.
Yeah, we were all like, so certainly episode 3 for me was more of a weaker episode. 1 and 2 had me in. In my mind, I was like, at the start of that, I was like, oh my God, they're the same person and she's using the Force. And it's a Force projection, and we're getting a light dark kind of, like what Luke does in The Last Jedi. And I thought that was kind of where it was going. And then obviously they're like, no, they are actually sisters, so that's fine. Episode 3 was a slow episode. Episode 4 ramped it up again. We could talk about Freds and the Force, and it's a big universe, right? So everyone's going to have their own perception on what the Force means to them. And you're 100% right. If this isn't the Star Wars for you, park it.
Yeah.
There is so much Star Wars out there, and I'd prefer my Star Wars to be warsy. Give me Rogue One any day of the week. Give me those Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's for me is what I feel like. That's the Star Wars that I enjoy.
Yeah.
I really like Soul as a Jedi. I think he's really cool. And this has still got time to build. There's still episodes to come. They're telling a story. It's, I try to look on the light side of everything. I came out of Batman and Robin as a kid. I went to the cinema and saw it and walked out of the cinema and went, oh, okay, that was good. Because it was Batman on the big screen. Just convinced me, because I like to see what I like, my stuff out on that big screen. So I'm kind of always happy if I'm being delivered something, and I'm not good enough I'm not the person to go out and write a Star Wars story and direct a Star Wars story and produce this story. So, there's plenty of spaces for people if they don't like it and they've got a better story to tell. Go be creative. Go take that negative energy and put it on a piece of paper and make it a positive bit of energy and make that story or make that fan film that you've been dying to make. And do that. We don't need to sort of put things down. Has it been the strongest Star Wars for me at the moment? No, but it's got every opportunity. It's High Republic. We don't know anything about this era really, other than what we've had in the books and some of the comics. So it's kind of exciting to see. And this whole again, my predictions when we saw the trailer and things like that other one was totally wrong, but I was like, maybe we're going to see a Sith that we're going to be a bit more sympathetic towards. We're not going to. It's not going to be so good guys, bad guys here. There's going to be a muddied line, and I think we're going to we sort of almost see that with the Jedi. Almost appears that they're not stealing children, but that, you know, they're like, hey, your kids are you know, like there's a line there.
We've brought this up a lot of times on the shows, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's been a difficult show as far as fandom is concerned. It has been, but I think you're right though. It's like we still have half the story to tell. You know, and just like you, like I feel like there's the opportunity there for they can knock it out of the park. It could be the best show ever, or it could fall flat on his face. And some of the stuff that people are saying could be the prophecy. It could be the thing that ends Star Wars or whatever. But I really don't think that's going to happen. So, but yeah, that's a tough one.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, no. People are like, "Oh, Disney's broke." I'm like, you guys don't know anything about Disney. They basically own the world, so their umbrella is massive.
Yeah, I think, you know, if it's not the Star Wars for you, park it. There's enough negativity in the world, and there's people that are really suffering. Let's not suffer over Star Wars. let's enjoy it. And if there's a Star Wars that you prefer, you know, go stick Rogue One on again. Go and watch that. go rewatch Obi-Wan. I mean, a lot of people didn't like Obi-Wan at the start. They were like, oh, he's a lost Jedi. He's a shell of himself. Why is it focusing on Leia rather than Luke? And there's a lot of this kind of stuff at the start of that. And then as it ramps up towards the end and you start getting those flashback scenes and, that Jules End fight where it's, you know, I killed Anakin. And it's like, oh wow, this is, you know, and it kind of, for a lot of people went like that. So you got to give it a chance. You've got to see it through. Try and change that negative energy.
100%.
And anyone that's attacking any of the actors, I mean, come on, they're doing the job. It's not cool. I thought we got through all of that with with the Rose thing and all of that. And you know what, those people don't tend to be. I think we're talking about the vocal minority on these occasions as well. Because actually, you see Kelly Tran comes out on stage at Celebration. The room is nuts for it. The love is there. So the love is there for these shows. The internet does give people that opportunity to voice opinions, and they're either using it for negativity. I mean, most of the time people moan rather than praise things. I think that's like but I've enjoyed it so far. Is it my favorite Star Wars? Not yet. It could be. And let's see where it goes. I mean, I love old sort of samurai Japanese those kind of old sort of feels, and it has some of that in there as well. So I'm still very hopeful for it, to be honest.
Nice. Hopefully we can chat about it in Japan.
Yeah, I was about to say.
That would be lovely. That would be lovely. And if we do, yes, we'll definitely meet up and have some sake.
100%. Well, thank you very much, Leroy, for coming on. Again, super appreciate the time. I know you're an extremely busy man. If any of the listeners want to know more about you, or they want to listen to more of your music, the floor is yours, mate. Let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, thank you. Everything sort of social media wise is at LevelupLeroy. So that's your YouTube's, SoundCloud, Instagram, Facebook, all of that stuff. There's music videos that I've put up on YouTube. And so most of my music goes on SoundCloud, because if I put it on Spotify, it'd be taken down as I bastardize other people's work. But there's loads of remixes out there, and there's opportunities to download them if you like, or if you can't download it, shoot me a message and I'll send it to you anyway as well. So I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a blast.
Not a problem. Yeah, 100%. We'll definitely get you back on.
We can break down Acolyte at the end of the season.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, so it's in the diary. As always, then before we sign off on the episode, we always have like a little saying from any Star Wars quote, from any movie, show, book, whatever you want. I'll start us off then. So he's the chosen one. He will bring balance. Leroy, what we got?
What do we have here then? A bit of a rando there. He's just so smooth.
All right. Well, Leroy, thank you so much. I love your passion, awesome advice. Again, I really, really hope I get to meet you in person in Japan. And for all of us, we have spoken. See you guys next week.